Okay, so is everyone ready? Shall we begin? Okay, excellent. So this session will be rather easy compared to what you just did. LaTeX is much easier than root is, and especially what I am about to teach. Ritu madam already covered most of the basics about LaTeX yesterday. So today I will just introduce to you how to make presentations in LaTeX. Okay. Um, uh, if you're not familiar with presentations in LaTeX, which is highly likely to be the case in my experience, uh, then you must have used Microsoft PowerPoint so far in your life whenever you have had to make a presentation. So why should I use LaTeX instead of PowerPoint? The reasons are two. LaTeX offers much better typesetting. So anything you write in LaTeX automatically looks much better than PowerPoint. Second thing is it gives you much more control. You can do far more things, far many things in LaTeX than you can do in PowerPoint. Of course, now everything cannot be good about LaTeX. So what's the problem then? The problem is that it's closer to coding. Uh, PowerPoint is the equivalent of plug and play. You just start making your presentation. Nothing, no knowledge required. LaTeX, you have to know a lot of things compared to PowerPoint to make a good presentation. But the end result is much better. So the trade-off is you are investing more time, energy, and your mental computation power in exchange for a better and more elegant presentation. Okay. So with that introduction, I think we should just get started with how to make a presentation. Okay. Excuse me. So please open your LaTeX editor, whichever you're using. I think Ritu madam used Text Studio. I will be using TechMaker. They're both basically 99% the same. So it doesn't matter whichever you use. And I'm also working in Windows at the moment. Okay. So can you see my slide? It should say title of talk, subtitle of talk, author name, institute name, etc. Okay, so on the left hand side you see is the editor. Now you saw I typed some garbage there. On the right hand side is the output. Now there is some output which is from my previous code, so it should go away very soon. Okay, so how to start with presentation making in LaTeX? First thing you do in LaTeX is to specify a document class. Okay, that's the very first thing you do anytime you start making a document in LaTeX. So I will say document class, and the document class is Beamer. A Beamer is the most supported and used document class for presentations. There are others. There were others before Beamer, but Beamer has the most support. So if you have any questions or issues with Beamer, 99.99% someone has already solved that problem for you. So I recommend Beamer instead of other packages. Okay. Now, second option I want to give is a theme option. So use theme, and inside the curly brackets, I use this one is my favorite, but we can use others as well. Use theme Copenhagen. Okay. Now, let's actually start making a slide. Just like any other LaTeX document, you begin with a begin document command. And everything else will be inside begin document and end document. Okay, so the content of your code should be inside this, just like any other LaTeX document. Now let me write something. And I just compiled it. And this is my first slide. Now it looks pretty terrible, right? Doesn't look like a slide at all. So let me just copy a few useful commands that we'll be using for teaching purposes. Don't worry what these things are. The only important thing you should note is the highlighted one. So this package, GraphicX, this is what you would load when you want to add images to your LaTeX document. Good thing is in Beamer, this is automatically loaded. Okay, so I will not use this. I will delete it. Okay. So point of the story is GraphicX is already loaded by Beamer by default. Okay, so now let's make the first page of our presentation. What's usually on the first page? There's a title of a talk, right? So that part goes outside the begin and end document portion. Okay, so let me put so this percentage sign in LaTeX means a comment. This means that the compiler will ignore these three words. Okay, this is just for reading purposes. So the title command is simply title, and I call it something. Let's say demonstration. Okay. Now inside the begin document, I say make title. Now you see it looks more like a presentation. The title of the talk, it comes in a box and the date is automatically added. Okay. Let's add some more information. You can add subtitle. So that's a subtitle. All of these can be formatted, but I will not go into details on how any of these things will be formatted. My goal for today, in the next 40 or so minutes, is to introduce you to Beamer, not go through every minute detail. Okay. And please, if you have any questions, just unmute your mic and speak up. I don't mind questions while teaching. Okay. Okay, let's also add an author name. Author. So let's say my name is Anis. And I can also add an institute. And let's say MNI. See, so everything is already formatted. And most of the times in real life, you will not need to fiddle with the formatting because I use this theme Copenhagen, right? This thing, the thing that I have highlighted right now. There are thousands of these themes, and you just have to pick whichever formatting suits your purposes. So actually messing around with the formatting is something almost no one does in Beamer. Okay. I will show you another theme in a bit once we have some more slides ready, and then you can see the difference between various themes. Okay, now the first page is ready, almost. You might want to add images, something like your institution logo. I will show you how to do that later. Now, how to make further slides. Slides in Beamer are called frames. Frames as in FRAMES. Okay. So this thing I wrote here, make title, although it works, is an incorrect way of making a slide in Beamer. Okay, what I should do is make a comment, title page. And now I should write this command, begin frame and end frame. Okay. And here I can write either title page or I can write make title. Either of these work. Okay, see, this time I use title page instead of make title. If I use make title, the result will be same. So title page and make title both give you the same result. There is some minor difference, but for our purposes, they are basically the same things. Okay, so a frame is one slide in Beamer. Let's make another frame. This would be our second slide. Let's write something here. Here you have the second slide. Okay. See, this was the first slide, and now you have a second slide. Now before we go further, there are a few things I forgot to mention. Notice that my name comes down here, is already provided here. The top of the title is provided here. This is the default setting of the theme. There are some buttons here. This button will take me to the next slide. This button will take me to the end of the slide. Okay, it's actually not working right now because there's only 2 slides. When we have more slides, these buttons will start working. Okay, so this is something that is extremely useful when you're actually delivering the presentation. These buttons here, these are generated by Beamer. I didn't have to do anything about it. In PowerPoint, you would have to do extra stuff to make this work, or you just use the arrow keys. Okay. Now, sometimes it is useful to make sections in your document, just like any other document, right? If you have read any research paper or a book, there are sections, right? So you can make sections even here, and it's useful to organize. So let me make this part section 1, the part from slide 2 onwards, section, and what should we call it? Let's call it introduction. Okay. You don't see a difference at the moment, but you will soon see a difference. Let's type some more words here. So I'm going to use a shortcut. Don't worry about the shortcut Lipsum 75 is. It is just used to write sample text. Okay, so this is your slide. Okay, and now you notice the name of the section is provided here, right where I'm pointing my mouse. Okay. What if I want to add an image here? So for image, you want to use begin figure command. Then you use include graphics. Scale, let's set it to 0.3. This means 0.3 means 30% of the actual image size. Okay. And here I will give the name of the image that I have already saved. So this command will not work with you if you're working along with me, because I have already saved this image file in my text folder. Okay. But this is just for demonstration purpose. And I can give a caption here, which goes with the caption name. With the command is the caption. Here comes an image. This is much better. Okay, so this time there is a caption to the figure, and above the figure there is text, just like you'd have in a presentation. So this slide is just a sample of how you can start making basic slides in Beamer. Okay. I'll write one more command, and then I'll let you ask questions if you have it. So under sections, you can also make subsections. Let me make a subsection. Introduction. No, let's call it text and figures. Okay, so the section name comes here, subsection name comes here. Okay. Now, I'd like to ask if anyone of you has a question so far. Was everything clear so far? Well, actually, before that, are you guys actually typing these things along as I go? Doing it for yourself? How to read? Okay, so Pragya Nama has a question, where can we see more themes? I will answer that question shortly. Okay, Pragya, so please hold on. Mihir Patel, how to resize image? This is something that will be shown be taught by Ritu madam, but let me answer your question anyway. So you said this command, include graphics in blue. This has a parameter setting. So inputs to commands go in curly brackets like this, and parameters to commands go in square brackets like this. So if you set scale equals something, that sets the ratio of the image displayed as percentage of the actual image size. So let me make this 1. Now it's going to show me an image which is the same size as the original image. Okay, so let's see. Right, this is bigger. If I set it to 0.1, it will show me an image which is 10% of the original size. As you can see, this is tiny now, right? So I thought 0.3 or 0.4 was reasonable, 40% of the original image size. Where does that answer your question? Any more questions? Yes, Pragya, you can shift the location of images. Unfortunately, I do not want to go into that because dealing with images can take a lot of time. Renu madam will teach you how to do this, okay? Today's focus is how to work with Beamer itself. I want to introduce the basics of Beamer and not basics of LaTeX, okay? So keep this question for Ritu madam. Okay. We have another question, but before that, keep this question for Ritu madam Pragya, okay? And she'll be able to answer your question. Milab Dashora has a question, in which directory should we keep images? Okay, so look at the name I have provided here. Okay, it is some name. This file was kept in the directory same as my tech file. Okay, if instead it was in another folder, images, which is besides the tech file that I'm using, then you should change the address of the image to this. Okay, so folder name, any other folder names go here, and then the file name goes here. Okay, so the syntax is, let me write it in capitals, folder name slash folder name and so on, and then image name. Okay. Yes, Hidayatullah, yes, you can say both image and presentation in same directory. That's what I've done. That's why I don't have folder name here in my include image portion. That's why it's just the name of the file. Okay. All right. Let's see. What should we do next? Okay, let me show you how to make some more variation of content here. Let's make another slide. Okay, so how do we make another slide? Begin frame and you type something in. Okay, but to be organized, let's make a subsection here, and I'll show you how to write column, make columns here. Okay, so let's rename the subsection columns, and here's our third slide. Okay. Now notice that the subtitle name is still text and figures here, but I just told it to be columns. I just specified the subsection name to be columns, but it's still displaying text and figures. So this is a feature or a bug, whichever you prefer, of LaTeX. Sometimes you have to compile twice. Some things in LaTeX work by compiling once, some things in LaTeX work by compiling twice. So subsection and section names in Beamer, you have to compile twice to get it correctly, okay? So let me compile it once again. Okay, see, and now this time the subsection name columns has appeared. Okay, so next time, if sometimes things don't work, don't panic, just try to compile again. This will show up once Renu ma'am teaches you about bibliography, how to edit references and all. Even there you will learn that those things also need to be compiled twice. Okay, now actually let's make two columns this time. Okay, so how to make columns? And let's give this frame a title first. This is a new command, frame title. How to make columns. So the command for making columns is begin columns. Almost everything in LaTeX works like this. Begin XYZ, begin ABC. Okay, so I have begin columns. I start the first column by writing column. In curly brackets, I specify the width. Okay, so it is, let me say 0.4 text width. This means it will be 0.4 times of the total text width available to LaTeX in this slide. So if I want to make two columns, each of width 0.4, then I get a total of 0.8, right? And so the leftover is 0.2. And that 0.2 can be used to make space between the columns. So 0.4 is reasonable. If I use 0.6, then there is no space left over for columns. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment. And let's add some text now. Once again, I will use this text generator, Lipsum. and let's compile. Okay, one column. Now see the difference between this and the text here, right? This one is taking up the entire space available. This one is taking up only zero point 0.4 of the zero point 0.4 times the entire space available. Okay. So shall we add another column? Then let's add another column. I'll just copy this. Okay. And let's compile it. Okay, now we have two columns. And notice there is space between these two columns. This is because what I just explained earlier. I specified the column weight to be 0.4. So the total space taken by both columns is 0.8. And 1 minus 0.8 is 0.2. So 0.2 is left over for space on each side of the columns. If I make this 0.5, the width of the columns, you will see it becomes messier. Right? I can make this even wider, 0.6 to each column. And now it's gone outside the slides, which is bad. Okay, so let's go back to 0.4. Okay, any questions? Okay, so let's instead of text, let's make a list. Try something new for once. Begin itemize. That's how you make lists. Item 1, item 2, item 3. So I use the command begin itemize and then wrapped up this command with end itemize. Each item in a list, you type item for that to declare that I am typing an item here, and then you write whatever you want to write. So ABC. Okay. Now this is a list. Okay, so compare both columns. They look different. You can choose whichever you want depending on your needs. Now, someone asked you what to do about themes. So I think this is a decent point where I can show you what a different theme would look like. So use theme. Let me check the spelling once. And so this theme is called Bordula. And I will disable the first theme, okay? So I will disable the first theme. Let's see what it looks like. Now this is a much more simpler theme, right? The previous theme didn't have date down here, or it didn't even have page number down here, but this one has page numbers and the total number of pages or the slides. Okay. And there are no blocks here. Titles are simple, no coloring, no heavy blocks, but the overall theme is still blue, bluish, light blue, right? So this is an example of a different theme. Okay, so let's go back to the previous theme. Now, as to where to get those themes, Google. You will find a huge repository of themes online, and all you have to do is type use theme, name of the theme. LaTeX will automatically install the theme for you. You don't have to download it from anywhere. Just say use theme, inside brackets, use name of the theme, and LaTeX will download it for you. Okay, so Google for LaTeX themes. In fact, that's the answer for most of your questions. Beamer is so useful because Google will give you answer to all of your questions immediately. Beamer is so widely used in the scientific community that all of your questions will already have answers on Google. Okay. Okay, so There are two more things, actually three more things that I want to show to you. We have 15 minutes left. I think that is sufficient time. One is the block system. Okay, so let's make a new section, blocks. Let's call it fancy features. Okay, and let's make a subsection. Let's call it blocks. And now let us begin a new slide. Begin frame, end frame. Let's say type something here. Something went wrong. Line 66, something went wrong. Okay, I have an extra end frame here. Now it should go. Okay. So once again, you should compile it twice. Now you see the second section name as well as the new subsection name. Now, what is a block? Sometimes you want to highlight some things in a presentation. So what you can do is you can use the block feature. So how to use the block feature? Let's write some simple text first. So Lipsum 75 as usual for our text generator. And that will look like this. Excuse me. Okay. Now let's use the block feature. What does the block feature look like? Begin block and end block. And inside it, we will write something. What we will write is good old Lipsum. See, and what the block did was highlight everything within the begin block and end block area. We could have done one more thing. We could have added a block title. Block title goes in. Okay. So block title and then the text of the block. What if you want other colors? You can change theme, or you can use a different kind of block. There are several blocks available in Beamer. So for example, let me copy this. Okay, let me make another block. Now we have one normal text and two texts in block. Okay, and I want the last block to look different in color. So one option is instead of block, you can use alert block. Okay, so replace block with alert block in the begin and end command and compile. And now it's run. Okay. There are actually many kinds of blocks and there are many features, not just colors, size, shape, and whatnot. These you have to explore on your own when you start making a presentation. Please do a Google search for what options you have. LaTeX has so many options that you can just lose years exploring those options. Okay. Now, this was one of the three things I had mentioned, using blocks. The second thing I want to mention is sometimes you want to introduce things one at a time to a slide. Okay. In PowerPoint, you can do that, like one word appears, then you hit a button, then another word appears on the same slide, then you hit a button, then another word or a figure appears on the same slide. You can do that here as well. Okay. So let me make a new subsection. call it pause feature. That feature is called the pause feature that I just mentioned. And let me begin a new frame. Actually, let me just copy paste this frame. So we have exactly the same slide as before. Okay, this will give me same slide but with a different section name. Okay, we forgot an end frame here again. Here you go. So we have identical two slides, but with different section names. Okay. Now I want this part to show up, but the two blocks do not show up. Then I want to press a button so that the first block shows up, but the second one doesn't. Then I want to press a button so that the final block shows up. Okay. How do I do that? For each button press, you insert a pause. Okay. So before the first block, I insert a pause command. Before the second block, I insert a pause command and compile. See? Only the first part of the text appeared. Now if I press the next button, I have the second portion, the first block. And here is the last one. So this basically emulates having a slide where images or text appear as you press a button. You do exactly the same thing in PowerPoint. Here it is called the pause feature. Okay. Pragya, you have a comment? I just saw just now. Okay. Okay, so one last thing that I want to show to you in Beamer is the content section. So our table of contents. Okay, so let's make another subsection, table of contents. Let's make a new frame. And how to make a table of contents? You just say table of contents. You write table of contents and compile. See, so now in this slide, and you can also give it a title. Let's give it a title. Frame title. And let's call it outline of the demonstration. I'm writing outside the frame as Pragya pointed out earlier. Okay. So now you can see that you have an outline of your talk, and now you must have noticed the importance of writing sections and subsections. You can actually use them to identify these frames, and if you click on these, it will take you to the correct frame. Okay, so these are actually inbuilt hyperlinks. So this one took me to the first slide, and you can also click in any of these regions. So this is a good thing out LaTeX. Hyperlinks are automatically made. You don't have to work or worry about them. And as is usually the case, the outline is usually the second slide in the presentation, right? First slide is your name, institution, etc., etc., and outline of the talk is the second slide. So let's move it to the second slide. I cut and paste here, and compile it. And I keep making the same mistake. I need to have an end frame there. Outline of the demonstration shows nothing. What happened? Let's compile it once again. Outline of the demonstration, this time it worked. Right, so this is another of those things that you have to compile twice. Table of contents needs to be compiled twice, just like section, subsection, bibliography, indices, references, all of these need to be compiled twice. Okay. I think this is enough for a short hands-on tutorial on presentation making in LaTeX. Let's have questions now. Okay, Mihir Patel has a question. How to save and execute it? Okay, what program are you using, Mihir? Yes, in LaTeX, but what software? So, for example, I'm using TechMaker. I'm using TechMaker.
Sir, I am using Text Studio.
Okay, I don't remember the command for that, but for me in TechMaker, the command to save is Control S. This should also be the same in Text Studio. To compile, which is what you mean by execute, I presume. The command in TechMaker is F1. In Text Studio, I don't know what it is. F5, Vikas Chauhan says it is F5. So there you have the answer. And usually the case is that you can always change these commands by going into settings. For example, here I can go into options, configure TechMaker, and I can change shortcuts. Right? And it should be the same for Text Studio as well. Chitranshi, yes, I can send you the text file. You can do everything you can do in usual tech documents you can do in Beamer. When I presented my PhD thesis, I needed references and bibliography, and I used Beamer to make it, and it worked fine. How to present this PPT? Okay. So okay, Mir, I want you to answer a question for me. Once you compile this LaTeX document, what is the output?
Sir, I am getting this PPT.
PPT or PDF?
I can convert it anyway by choosing upper option that two arrows are given. You can see view.
Yes. So once you have a PDF, you don't bother with the PPT. PDFs are much better anyway.
Yes, sir. But what if I need to do with PPT?
Uh, there will be, I honestly do not think there will be a scenario where you will be used to need PPT, because PPT actually do not work independently. They need to have, if I have an image, the image needs to be saved along with the PPT. For PDF, the image is saved within the PDF.
But sir, that pause function which you have used, does
That
it
works in
work?
PDF. It works in PDF as well.
Okay, sir.
Everything that Beamer provides will work in PDF. The whole point of Beamer is to use PDFs and avoid PPT. Hidayatullah has a question: how to change the page layout? Can you please be more detailed in your question? What do you mean by page layout? Hidatullah Muhammad Ismail. I am not sure I understand your question. Can you please reframe it? Okay, no response. Any other questions? Yes, Vikas, you can. I don't remember the command at the moment, but yes, you can. I had to do it at one point, and yes, you can. Basically, the answer to any of these, can we do XYZ in Beamer, is almost always yes. There is almost nothing you cannot do in Beamer. I'm not getting paid to say this because Beamer is free, but there is almost nothing that you cannot do in Beamer. Okay, so before we wrap up this session, it is 5:30 now. I have two quick announcements to make. One is I will share this tech file as one of you requested with all of you. Second is there is a feedback form that we need you to fill. And please fill it by tonight. Okay. Without that feedback form, we will be unable to give you your certificates. Okay. Also, one more thing that I just remembered, that at the end of this short-term course, you will be asked to either speak for 5 minutes or present a slide on how you found these tools and softwares useful in your work. Okay. So whether you want to submit a slide or you want to speak for 5 minutes, that option is also given in the feedback form. Okay, so please select one of them and please finish the feedback form by tonight. Okay, I will send you the feedback form shortly to all of you. Okay, that's it from my side. Any more questions? Okay, looks like no more questions. So let us conclude today's session and we will see you tomorrow then.
Anis, are you done? Anis, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Kavita ma'am.
Yo, so should I stop now the recording?
Yes, ma'am, please do.
Okay, just let me stop and then we can edit it.